too. That'll work. Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Right now we have like 36, 37 people that are here. I am going to go ahead and mute everyone. If you need to talk, you can unmute yourself, but sometimes just that background noise gets a little bit confusing and it's distracting for people. If you want to keep your video on, you can, or if you go down to the bottom, depending on what you're on, you can press stop video. It's up to you. If you just want to see yourself, you can. I'll keep mine on, but it's up to you. Can everybody see the slides okay on your screen that I'm sharing? Okay, I see some thumbs up. I just wanted to make sure. So the purpose behind this Zoom meeting is to talk about how you can use Seesaw to help with remote learning. And how we're going to talk about this today is for teachers that are new to Seesaw. So some of you, if you have been using Seesaw before, some of it might be a little bit of a review, but at the end, it'll be great for you to maybe share some of the ways that you are using Seesaw already with your students. So far, the usage has been pretty great from a lot of our K-2 schools with what students are posting. So hopefully this will help to give you some ideas if you haven't started yet about ways that you can meet your students while they're at home. Also, just so everyone knows, down at the bottom there should be a place where you can see the chat. If you have any questions and you don't want to just talk throughout, if you put the chat there at the end, I'll answer any questions, or I'll try to keep my eye on it as I go through too. All right, so to start out with, I just wanted to say, obviously you guys all successfully got onto Zoom. And a lot of people have started to use Zoom as a way to get into contact with their kids. But just some things that, in case you were unaware of things that you could do to share with your students. So a lot of times people will just show themselves, which has its purpose, but sometimes, like I'm doing right now, I'm showing my screen to you. And the reason I don't have it in present mode right now is because I wanted to be able to, like on my screen, I have who all's here, the chat, and the videos on one side. So that's why it's not in the present mode, but we can see the slides. In this picture, this slide deck should have been in the email that was forwarded to you. So if you want to get on to follow along, you can. But just some other options that you have if you're hosting Zoom. If you press share, it'll give you some different options of what you can share with whoever's in the Zoom video with you. So you can do your desktop. There's also a whiteboard. But if you're using your MacBook, the whiteboard would be hard for you to actually write too much on it. But the one that can be really powerful is that iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. So basically they can see, if you plug in your iPad to your computer, it'll make it so your students could see whatever you do on your iPad. So you could open up a whiteboard app, you could play a video, you could do anything that was on your iPad, your kids will be able to see. So that's a great way to share some more, especially if you're doing some different mini lessons for students. If you have more questions about Zoom, feel free to email me and we can Zoom some more about different things you can do. I just wanted to touch on some of those things that I don't think everybody was aware existed, because you can share more than just your face on Zoom. So let's talk about Seesaw. So luckily we have Seesaw for Schools. So all of your students are automatically in your classes based on what is in PowerSchool. So it doesn't include you going in and adding all of your students. They already have all of their accounts set up. And all of them should have at least used it one time to complete the digital citizenship activity at the beginning of the year. But if not, don't worry about it because it's very user friendly for those of you that are just getting started. For example, I have to give a shout out to Southside, because Southside, before we went to this remote learning, really hadn't been using Seesaw a lot. But within this last week, their students just getting started have posted over 1,500 posts. So even if you're just getting started, just know that they can do it, because we've already had one school go from basically no Seesaw usage to just a lot of usage. So just think about some ways that you can start small. So Seesaw is great because it's that student, teacher, and family interaction to help to deepen student learning. So you want to just think about ways that you can bring all of those stakeholders together. Now, I'm not going to play this video, but if you want to watch the video later, it's in the slide deck. But a part that he talks about is how, from the video, students can actually share their work, but they can also share their thought process with you. So this is a screenshot of a student's writing. So it wasn't their digital writing, it was writing that they wrote out. And they took a picture of it. And within Seesaw, they have a lot of different creation tools for everything. So once they take a picture, it gives them the option to record their voice. So especially for our little friends that you're not really sure what they wrote, they can record their voice telling you what they were trying to write. And they can also annotate in real time as they are speaking. So if it wasn't writing and maybe it was a math problem, they could start writing out their problem and explain it at the same time, so you know what they were thinking as they were posting something. That was just one of the things in that video that I wanted to share. So as you all know, learning at home creates its own different obstacles. So I just thought this slide was great because it just talks about the difference between, you know, the community that you were able to create in your classroom. You can try to extend some of that at home, but you know that that it's a different learning environment for everyone involved. So it's really important that teachers and family members, they work together to really create some really meaningful learning experiences with the least amount of frustration for everyone. Now, one thing that I like in this is it says it's not realistic to replicate the school day at home. So you're not going to be able to do everything exactly like you would want to do in your classroom at home because it's a completely different environment. But some of the high priority things that you know are good for instruction, we can try to think about ways that you can pull them in for this type of learning. So we'll talk through some of that. And you also want to make sure that there are opportunities for students to work independently. Because they are working at home, you don't want the family to have to do everything for the child. You want to see how you can put resources in front of them so they can try to do a lot of it with minimal support. I mean, I know K2, they're going to have some support, but just trying to put things in a way that they can actually do that learning themselves. So everyone, or each principal was given home learning codes papers for all of the home learning codes for your students. But if you didn't get those, you can also get those for your class because I've enabled it in the Seesaw admin side. So basically when students log in with home learning codes, if you need some help, you can watch this video later. But basically they download the Seesaw app. Now, if they don't have their device, this can work on any device. They just need to download the Seesaw class app. Or if they don't have a tablet, they can go to web.seesaw.me and sign in. Basically, they just have to have internet to get on there. And then they choose I'm a student, and then they enter their unique text code. Now, a couple of things about that is whenever the students sign in using that home learning code, it automatically makes it so they can't see each other's work. So you don't have to worry about not accepting work so they don't see everybody else's. They'll only see themselves. which is a nice little setting that it has. If you need extra help with getting those home learning codes, let me know and I can work with you to make sure you know how to get to them. All right, so it's important, and we've talked about this some and shared some resources, but it's important that families try to create like a home learning routine and a distraction-free space. So if, you know, they have a desk where they go to work at, then it's just easier for them to focus on what they need to do, but also making a schedule that has some breaks in it. And on our e-learning website for parents, we gave some tips that have some like sample schedules where they work for a certain period of time, then maybe they go outside and play, then they work a little bit more, and then they have a lunch break. But just setting that routine can be helpful for completing what they need to complete. So you also, Seesaw is great for giving some positive and encouraging feedback, and they can repost things. So once you respond, you can give them feedback as in comments, but you can also do voice comments. So if, you know, they have a hard time reading, you can verbally say the feedback that you want to give them. And like, we all know that this is completely new for everyone. Like, don't expect to have all of the answers. Just try to be patient and be patient with your parents and your students to try to work through all of the things right now, because we know it's a learning process. So let's go through just the basics of how Seesaw works. So what this will go through is how you view student work on the teacher dashboard, how you have to approve the student posts, how students post to the journal, how teachers post to the journal, and then also a little bit about creating activities, but we won't get into that too much. And then I have some other ideas of different ways that you can take what you maybe already have sent home or plan to send home in packets, and how they can share some of their work on Seesaw for you to see. So like I said, I'm not going to play all of these, but they're there for you if you want to. So this is a video that talks about the teacher dashboard. So on the journal tab, which the journal, it says journal and it's right here, you'll see all of the student work in the feed on the left of the screen. So right here, this part right here, you can scroll through it and see all of the different things that have been in there. Now, you'll be able to see everyone's, but if they go through this home learning code, they will just see themselves. You can click also on each student's name to see everything that is in their journal. So that could be things that students have posted to their journal or you have posted to their journal. And I put a screenshot right here that says that plus sign is really how you add anything as a student or as a teacher. So as a teacher, you can post student work, you can assign an activity, or you can send an announcement. So sometimes if you post student work, it can be work that you've actually received. You just want to put it on Seesaw for them. Or if it was a resource you wanted to share, you can share it with specific students, or you can share it with the whole class. So now, once students start to put work into Seesaw, it always comes to the teacher first to approve it. This is especially important if students are able to see each other's work at some point, but you still have to press that approval. So there is a red bar. You'll see that it has approve, and there's a check, and then there's like a trash can. You can press the check there, or if you want to approve all of them, down at the bottom, there's a green bar, and you can just press approve all if you want to approve all of them that they've turned in. This just helps if students try to post things or really press submit before they meant to, then you can just press the trash can and it'll go away. All right, so now students post to the journal similar to a way that a teacher posts to a journal with that add plus button. So students, whenever they log in with that home learning code, students will just tap that green plus button. They'll choose a learning tool from the menu, and I put a screenshot down here that shows the different things that they can choose from. And then whenever they're done, they click the green check to add the post. Now with home learning codes, the students don't need to choose their name. Sometimes if you have it set up for shared devices before, they'd have to select their name before they post anything. But with these home learning codes, they don't have to select their name because that code is associated with them. So once they're logged in, they just press that green check. It already knows that it's them. So I'm gonna make this bigger just so I can talk through some of these with you. So in Seesaw, with that green check with posting to a student journal, these are the different creative options that you have to post and students have to post. So they can take a photo within Seesaw. They can also do a drawing. They could take a video. This is all within the app too. So they can take a video within the app. They can also upload anything. They can do a note, which basically looks like a piece of paper that they type on, or they can put a link. A lot of times the link will be what you would post for them, but each one of these things can be added. I will say Seesaw is great with that student reflection because anytime they post any of these things, it gives them the reflective tools to choose from whenever they're learning. So if they take a photo, it gives them the option to then add different things. So they could record their voice. They can add a shape. They can do a lot of other little things that I'll show you whenever I have a real one pulled up, that you'll be able to see that it asks for them to reflect, not just put a picture. They can record, they can annotate, they can do all of the things within each one of those pieces of work. I'll make that back smaller. And then we'll go to the next one. So teachers post the same way. So they press that green check. They use the learning tools to create a post. They click the green check to add to the post. Now with teachers, you have the option to select who you want to share things with. So a pro tip is you can choose all students to share posts with every student's journal. So if you wanted to communicate to everyone about something, that's the way you can do it. Or you can select individual students if, say, some of your small reading groups that you have, you could share a book with 5 children that you know is a good book for them to read. And that would only go to their journals. Or you can post, you can just differentiate it in those different ways, but you can select as a teacher who you want to share with. So, yes, and so just a pause because I'm looking at the comments too. Thank you, Emily, for your comments. If they send something in and they need to fix something, you can send it back to them to fix it. But that's a good thing to mention. So we just talked about different ways that students and teachers can add to Seesaw using that green plus button. And if your students are brand new at Seesaw, that would be what I would focus on just to start out with, because it's just easier for them to press the plus. They can take a picture, or they can take a video, or they can draw a picture. That would be the best place to start. So adding to the journal is if they know what to do. So for example, if you've given them directions outside of Seesaw, like in a packet, you've asked them to use Serial to create their name, like to spell out their name for word work, and take a picture of it and upload to Seesaw. They would just know to press the plus, camera, take a picture of their work, and upload it. So also, if you just wanted them to post pictures of each page that they've completed in their packet, is a way for you to have that digital copy. So hopefully you don't have to touch the physical copies with all of those coronavirus germs. They could just post pictures of each page in their packet and upload it to their journal. So then the teacher could give feedback, give feedback to say that they needed to do something else, or give them other work. It's just a way for you to see all of the work that they have turned in. Now, we'll talk in a minute about activities. You could make an activity and have them post a picture, and it organizes it a little bit better. But if you're brand new, activities would probably be your next step. Okay, so let's talk just briefly about activities, and we'll probably get more in depth with that. We're going to have some other Zoom meetings to help you walk through this. So this is just going to be a brief about activities. So they can respond to an activity you've assigned them in Seesaw. You can provide directions, multimedia resources, and templates inside of Seesaw that students respond to directly. So you could make a book template that you share with them, and they edit that book template and send it back. It could be an assignment that says post day 1 pages in this activity. There are lots of different things, and there are lots of different activities that are already available. So first, we'll just talk about how you create an activity within Seesaw. I would suggest, if you are interested in making your own activities, to watch this video on this slide in a little bit. But if you wanted to make one yourself, you click that green plus button and choose Assign Activity. You'll be in My Library, and there will be a box that says Create New Activity. You'll enter the title. You can add multimedia instructions. You can add a template. I made one where I added a video reading the book template that I had created. In case they didn't have internet, they could download that video. And then they could re-upload things later. Or you can have voice instructions for your students. So if they do have a hard time reading the instructions, you can put voice instructions. And once you go through all of that, you'll just press save, and then you'll go back into My Library, you'll click Assign, and you can assign it for the whole class, or you can assign it for specific students. And then those activities, there's the journal tab, but there's also an activity tab, and that's where they would go to get activities. So it also, in that video, we'll talk about the Seesaw icon shortcuts. So if you wanted in your directions to actually show the icon that they have to click on in Seesaw, there's a certain way you have to type it, and that link has how you can type those out. So I'll talk a little bit more about activities in the For Everyone Else. Oh, thank you for the icon shortcut screenshot, Emily. It's good to look at that whenever you're creating assignments, but there are lots of assignments that are already created, and assignments will be added to the district and school libraries throughout this time for you to use too. So a question that I guess, let me pause for a second before I go into this part. Does anybody have any other questions? Is everybody good right now?
Real quick, will we still be able to use like Schoology and whatnot if we wanted to? Like if we're using Zoom and we have quizzes or assignments on Schoology, can we still use that too? Or do you want us to just stick with Seesaw?
I would check with your principal about what he wants to do with that. And it would probably depend on if your students were already used to using Schoology or not. So for K2 specifically, if they're not used to using Schoology, now would not be a good time to have them get started. but Seesaw is a lot more user-friendly for the little people. So that's the suggestion that we just tend to have. But you can talk with your principal to see what he wants you to. Okay.
Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to hop off in a second. I have a Zoom conference, but could you tell us before I have to leave how we can do the AirPlay with our iPad for a Zoom conference? We tried the other day and were unsuccessful.
So what you have to do is you'll have to plug in your iPad to your computer.
Using the USB?
Yes, using the USB. And then you'll click on that AirPlay option, and then it's going to request to download a plugin. So then you press accept, and then it'll give you directions about what you need to press for the screen mirroring to work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If you today have problems doing it, email me and I can try to help you walk through it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, and I will be putting this in this video. I'll be posting, so if you wanted to look at it later, then it'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else before I move on to some other just ideas? Everybody's good? Okay. All right, so a big thing is I know that whenever some of our students, I know K2 maybe haven't taken devices home. Most schools have given them the opportunity to check them out, but some of them don't have that opportunity. So if they have a device and don't have internet, or if they have one of our devices and don't have internet, there are a couple of different things. So if they have nothing, it gets a little bit trickier. So I'm just going to talk about the students who don't have internet and have access to their school device. And if you have other questions, we can kind of talk about that later. So if students don't have internet, but they have their school device, there are a couple of ways that you can use Seesaw to get resources for them that they can download once they're on internet. And then once they reconnect, then they can post to an activity or post to their journal. So if they don't have internet, they can, if you post a video, the 3 dots, once you post the video, it gives them the option to save. So this is one where this is a book. This is a F&P level A book called I See Butterflies. And I turned that book into a Google Slides presentation. And then I just pressed the plus and I pressed the upload and I selected it from my drive. And then I posted it. This one I would probably only post to my students that needed access to a level A book. But if they don't have internet, you still want them to have access to texts that are on their level. So what you can do, they'll have to get on internet, they can ride up to a school parking lot, and they can see what you've posted to them. They'll press the 3 dots, and then you see where it says save to camera roll. Now it's gonna save each page as a picture, so they'll just have to kind of swipe through their pictures to read the book, but it's better than no books at their level. So it's not ideal, and I'm still looking into some different ways that we can download those books onto their device. But it's just something that having it in their camera roll is better than nothing. So, and with videos, also they can save those to their camera roll as well in that same little option area. Now, if they go into an activity or something that they have created, they could take a screenshot of it for later. And then they could even use the markup tool to, circle answers. Even if it's just a digital worksheet, they could take a picture of it and then they could circle their answers, press save. Whenever they get to internet, they could upload it to Seesaw. Students have a decent amount of apps and resources on their iPads that they can use without internet. So like their camera, so they can take pictures, they can take videos. I watched a video that a student posted where they created a magnificent thing. This was like a super impressive house that a second grader did that they made out of cardboard, and they created like these little crystals, all these different things. And to create a video, if you have an iPad, you don't need internet. You can also, all of the offline creation tools like Chatterpix, Clips, whiteboard apps. There are lots of different ones. There's also one called Shadow Puppet EDU. I don't think that one needs internet. And even all of the native like Pages, Notes, Keynote, all of those things, they don't need internet either. Also, and we can talk about this, if any of these things that you get into and you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about, please email me and I would be happy to kind of go more in depth with any of these things if you have questions. But iPad screen recording, you all have iPad screen recording, but your students can also record their screen. So if you wanted them to open up a whiteboard app, they could start screen recording, they could start writing, they could draw a picture, they could tell you about it. It will record anything that's on their screen. It'll save it to their camera roll. Whenever they get access to the internet, they could upload it to their Seesaw journal. And that's been our solution for the older students that use Schoology. They will have to get to somewhere like a school parking lot to get on the internet to download these things. And then once they get back on internet, then they could do the upload part. And that's why it's going to be really important that everyone knows which students they have access to internet and which ones don't. Because you can work a lot more specifically with the few that do not have internet to make sure that you're meeting their needs as well. So now this slide is just a couple of examples, and this was after like the first day that I was looking at. And I'll go through some other ideas, but this was just the little recording or the screen, the picture that I did. So up here in the upper left corner is a teacher and her sweet little boy, and she's doing a read aloud for her students, and she posted that video to Seesaw for them to look at. And a lot of the students commented on it. You could ask a question in the comments for them to respond to. She just posted a read aloud. This child here wrote a poem about himself. So they posted the poem that they created there. This one, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. This one, so what they had to do was get pictures from magazines that started with the letter of their first name. So they just posted a picture of the different magazine pictures that they found. This is a link to a video that someone shared with their students. This was guided practice that they had to do. This one was word work, like I was talking about with the cereal. They had to write out their name and take a picture of it. Down here, this one, they had to read the different passages, and then they wrote up here what they inferred based on what they read. And here they were talking about different patterns, and so they made patterns with some of the cereal they had at home, took a picture of it, and put it on there. It's just a great way not to wait 2 weeks after packets come in to be able to give feedback and give resources to kids as they need them. So just some other ideas, and as I or anybody else shares any ideas, I'll add to this, but just some ways that you can think about students sharing with you. So, and I mentioned this earlier, but packet pages. So even if at the minimum, you just have students post the different pages that they completed each day from their packet, then that's a good way for you to give feedback for the different things they do. So all they would do is they would press the green plus, press picture, take a picture of it. Or they can respond to an activity where you ask for them to put the different pages on there. And then you as a teacher, like I said, can post voice or text comments to give students feedback on submissions. You can like it. I know a couple of administrators are on here. If you're an administrator, you can go in and you can like it and you can comment on it. I'm probably going to start doing that too. So if some of your parents are like, who is that lady that is liking and commenting my thing? You can tell them that it's that super excited technology lady that is really excited about what they're learning about. Because like principals, you could even post a picture or a video for them to see. They would be so excited. Okay, so another one, like I said, is a read aloud. So you could post a read aloud video for students to watch and comment on. Students can post pictures and videos showing completion of different activities from the packet. Like some of them they were kind of like enrichment, maybe it was math, where they had to do like 10 jumping jacks and take a video of it while they counted them out. I swear some of these videos, if I'm ever feeling real stressed out about all of this, I just go on Seesaw and I watch some of the things that some of these students have put on there, and their jumping jacks were hilarious. So just, you can think outside of the box. Like, you don't want the whole time that they're at home to just do a bunch of worksheets. I know some of that is probably inevitable, but if you can think about like, do a scavenger hunt around your house where you find and take pictures of different items that start with this letter, or different objects that rhyme, or just, it doesn't just have to be, you know, flat. You can do whatever you can dream of. So another one, like I said, this is a great way for you to differentiate. I mean, K2, like, I have to brag on all of y'all all the time. And like, we know how to differentiate for our students. Like, we pretty much do small group, individual, conferencing, all of that all the time. So we need to try to see how we can emulate that with our students while they're away too. Because, you know, you're trying to develop these foundations of reading. So you can share books, you can share links, you can share activities with individual students based on their needs. So especially your lowest learners, you know, it is hard to find access to really low level text probably at their home. And the more they read, the better readers they'll become. So if you can share individual, like, leveled A, B, C, or you just know what they're interested in, so you send them some books. If they have internet, you can assign it to them on Epic. You can post them to their journals. You can post different things based on what they need. But you could even post different, so let's say, I think I have it on here, down here, but you can even post a mini lesson where you're, you have a book that you're reading, maybe it's a skill mini lesson, and you're talking about context clues. So you could take a screen recording on your iPad with the text, talk about the strategy, underline what you're talking about, point out what with the strategy it is, post that on there, and then give them an assignment to, now with this book, I want you to go through and I want to hear you record yourself reading. You could do informal running records. I want to hear you try to read this book, think about the strategy that we're doing, and really have them reflect as they're going through and reading. And it doesn't have to be you send everything to everyone. You can do it based on what you know your kids need. Which is what I just went on to this next one. So I already talked about this, but with mini lessons, just video that mini lesson. It could be like a whole group writing mini lesson. It could be a whole group math mini lesson. And then you can go into that small group and individual types of things. I will say, I'm going to say again, it's really important for you to find out what kind of access your students have, not just to devices, but to internet. Because I know a decent amount of K2 teachers use Freckle, And right now you can assign specific activities to them. So that's even another way for you to assign something specific for those students. Now, I've even made some things from that for my kids that don't have internet. So if you have a large population that does not have internet and you really want to, and they have access to a device and you really want to talk through ways you can meet their needs, I would love to chat with you about what else you can do. All right, and then also, like I talked about before, they can post things that they've created, like chatter pics, clips, shadow puppet, just pictures, anything they use, markup tool from the picture. Also, since we have Seesaw for Schools, we do have a district and school Seesaw activity library. Now, if you are just getting started with making activities, but you have an idea about what you want the activity to look like, feel free to email me and I will try to make that activity for you and add it for students to use for you to share with your class. I can't give you a promise of how quickly I can do that for you, but if you have some ideas, or if you want to do a Zoom meeting with me where you put your screen up here so we can talk through where you go to make it, I would be happy to do any of that with you. And also, please, 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 if you make activities, share them with the district and school library, because I mean, these are some crazy times and we're stronger together. So if you make an activity, which I know I've seen a decent amount of activities being made, look at them. And I mean, Seesaw has been working to make different activities and lesson ideas for people to use in this situation, because we're not alone with the remote learning. So please share. Now, this is Seesaw. They have a map of ready to go Seesaw activities for home learning, and it's organized by grade and subject. So you can click on that slide and it'll take you to the things they've made. This slide also talks through some troubleshooting and frequently asked questions. There's the main site for teachers, frequently asked questions, a live help webinar. Seesaw also has a very good like webinars. They call it PD in your PJs. So if you look at those are really easy to kind of go through. And that is all I got for right now. I know it's kind of a lot, especially if you haven't been used to using Seesaw. So just start small.